Alright, so let's assume that you know nothing about leadership. If you were to ask John Quincy Adams what leadership was, he would reply that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, or do more and become more, then you're a leader. If you were to ask Henry Kissinger, then he would say that the task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they haven't been. If you were to ask any member of the Troy University Leadership Department, then they would say that leadership is the art and science of influencing the positive transformation of people, organizations, and societies. But none of these are wrong, because there's not just one way to define leadership. Leadership is defined through our experiences. These quotes and definitions of leadership inspired my leadership definition and my leadership philosophy. To me, leadership is an honest relationship between a leader and their follower, in which both parties work to achieve a common goal. My leadership philosophy, like my definition of leadership, revolves around the leader-follower relationship, which according to the interactional framework for leadership development is where true leadership happens. I want to form relationships with my followers that provide them with inspiration and motivation that encourages a positive transformation in their lives. So, how do I plan to do this? First, I plan to adopt an honesty policy. Everyone knows that in any relationship, no honesty equals no trust, and trust is vital to a good leader-follower relationship. Trust means that your followers have confidence in you, depend on you, and rely on you to have their best interests in mind. I want my followers to trust that I can make executive decisions with everyone's best interest in mind. In Dr. Klein's 30 Shoulds for Leadership, he says that leaders set the standard. They must demonstrate that they are worthy of trust, and they must demonstrate that they trust others, unless others give you a reason not to trust them. If a leader fails to have trust with their followers, then their organization will eventually fail. Next, I plan to put the mission first, but my followers always, which is a characteristic of a dual-focused leader. A leader must always put their followers' well-being before the goal, but a leader should understand that the goal is one of the main priorities. I'm reminded of a photo introduced to me in LDR 1100, and this is it. It was captioned, "Leading is vital, but typically the heavy lifting is done by the followers." And this reminded me that often leaders forget how crucial our followers are. Without them, we as leaders couldn't really get anything accomplished. It was whenever I first saw this photo that I realized I wanted my leadership philosophy to be focused on the leader-follower relationship. Finally, I plan to continuously provide my followers with inspiration and motivation that encourages a positive transformation in their lives. This involves utilizing techniques of leaders who project characteristics of servant leadership and transformational leadership. As described by Dr. Ivan Merritt, transformational leadership is a process for changing people. Servant leaders, as described by Dr. John A. Klein, lead because it's the best way for them to serve others. This portion of my leadership philosophy is actually a combination of the two, which, as described by me, is a process for positively changing people in a way that allows them to grow as people just by being under my leadership. What this all boils down to is that I want my leadership focus to be on my followers. In addition to forming an honest relationship where I put my followers first and utilize techniques of leadership to positively influence them, I plan to implement a we style of leadership, which is also known as a democratic style of leadership. And in a democratic style of leadership, the followers have a say, but the leader makes the final decision. I hope to test my leadership philosophy as president of the Math Club and the Math Honor Society this next semester. And I watched a presentation of Dr. Chris Shannon one time on dynamic followership, and he said that before he had to leave, he had to learn to follow, which is why after I graduate from Troy, I'll be attending graduate school there, where I'll work as a graduate assistant and learn to be a teacher leader. Eventually, I hope to use this information that I've learned in my leadership courses and in my leadership experiences to become the head of a junior college math department. Although my leadership goals will take longer than most to accomplish, I plan to devote myself to learning more about leadership, growing as a leader, and adding to my leadership philosophy, because as you all know, I love to learn.